Where's my agenda? Wait a minute. Why don't I? Here it is. Yeah. Somehow it ended up at the bottom. Okay. Ready? Ready? Judy, are you ready? Okay. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 Orange Board of Selectmen meeting. First item is in the event of an emergency. I think probably everybody came down the stairway to my right, your left. I will say just be careful because the water heater that's behind that door decided to let go this morning. So the carpet is kind of wet right there, and it actually is causing the tiles to lift right there at the bottom of the stairway. So that was a little unexpected fun today. It was quite a mess there, but they did come and get it done right away. In the event that that's blocked, you can go down the hallway straight out the back or up the stairway behind the wall with the clock on it, through the double doors, through the other door, out to in front of the town hall. With that said, okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That's the wet carpet. All right. I'm going to start on my left, down in the corner tonight. Mitch.
Good evening, Mitch Goldblatt.
Good evening, Ralph Oakenquist.
Vincent Moreno, Town Attorney.
Mary Shaw covering for Ann Denny tonight.
Good evening, Judy Williams.
Good evening, John Carangelo.
Very good. Okay, first item up is public participation. Public participation allows a person that is not an agenda item to speak for up to 2 minutes on any particular item. Is there? Yeah, that's fine. And please raise your hand so I know where you're coming. No, you did. You did. Yeah, you have to come up over here and state your name and all for the record.
Okay. So, I'm Bonnie Palacha from 419 Orange Center Road. And I have some questions about, I see that the person that...
If it's an agenda item, then you have to wait for that item.
Well, it's not I have some questions to ask.
It would be on the
No,
appointment?
this is a public. This is a public. Is that what I'm doing here?
If you're making comment on an item that is not an agenda item, then you would do it now. If it's an agenda item, you
I
wait for
wait.
that item to come up. We allow you to speak. Some places
Okay,
make you speak at the beginning,
okay.
and
that's
some
what I thought it
places let
was.
you speak when that item comes up.
Okay.
Amity makes you speak in advance. Here, we let you speak on when the topic comes
When the
up.
topic comes up. Okay, I'll
All
wait.
right? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Erica Higgins, and I live on 303 Drummond Road. I'm here tonight as a very concerned Orange resident on how decisions are made unilaterally and how those decisions affect our children and families of Orange. I've done a lot of research and have found that the large lot of property that is owned by the town and is leased out for $375 per year, with that lease being automatically renewed every year unless termed by either party 60 days in advance. This land could be and should be used to improve our town's recreational fields for soccer and any other recreational sports. I understand that in a recent Park and Rec Commission meeting that there was a motion to not further the plan of Phase 6 of turning the property into fields, and that was made by the same person who farms fields and plants corn in the town and it also has very close by, excuse me. Why didn't this person recuse themselves, and why have you, Mr. Zioli, not recused yourself as you also farm land in Orange? My question being, isn't that a conflict of interest? Not very ethical, if you ask me, and why was there no forum constructed to discuss the development of the fields at Fred Wolf Park? Last time I checked, this is supposed to be a town where people of the town help to decide what is done and when. There was no committee created when the quote-unquote dog park was created. That land is not level, and there is only one 4-foot entrance to get into the gated area. Kind of hard with 300 families for the Orange Soccer Association to get in there on a Sunday when there's not enough parking and it's not to code. There are no lines and there is no handicap parking. There was no consulting of lacrosse, men's and women's soccer leagues, or the Orange Soccer Association prior to the town spending over $40,000 on a field that no one can use. I'm at those fields 3 to 4 times a week with my boys, and I see dogs with their owners running around and enjoying it, but no kids playing on there. All 3 of my boys have played and do play or have played for the Orange Soccer Association and Amity Travel. The fields at MLT are not kept up, they're full of weeds, and honestly, just terrible. The program should be at Fred Wolf along with the rest of the soccer program, and it's very concerning to me that a lot of time and money went into the future of Fred Wolf Park plans and very little of it has been done. People move into this town for the schools, and we need to give them another reason to move here. That should be our town facilities for the kids and their families to enjoy. My elderly parents cannot come watch my son play soccer because the far field has no close parking. If the cornfields are turned into fields for soccer, then parking can be added as well. The possibilities are endless if we just put our minds to it and focus at the task at hand and not the corn being planted. I'm also concerned about the decision as to where the playground is slated to be placed. Next to a busy road, when there are hundreds of kids coming into Frenwold Park in any given weekend or day, where kids can run out, be hit, or injured. Why not think of another place within the property away from the road and the main entrance? Why would there be curbs placed there currently, prior to the playground being built, when it will be ruined by large trucks needing to level it and work on such a project? Again, a waste of our tax dollars on something that hasn't been thought through. I ask this Board of Selectmen, look at what this town could be for the kids and its families and start thinking things through. $375 won't get us very far, and these children deserve better. We all deserve better.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Corey Kachera, and I live at 850 Tall Timber Road. I'm here with my 2 children. That is a hard act to follow. Whew. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am, and I'm up here to ask a question. But who I am is relevant because I am both a resident and a mother. I also coached the in-house program for 2 years, and then I watched my children graduate up to the travel program. So I know the fields behind Mary L. Tracy. I know that they're not soccer fields. And I also know that it was a stress on the school to have the parking and to have the wear and tear on those fields, to have all the families in and out. And then we moved to Fred Wolf Park, which is beautiful. The fields are absolutely beautiful. I've managed my daughter's team for 2 years. I have proudly arranged for all towns to visit our fields, and I've worked with our coaches on times and where and when. And I made a map to send out. And that map reminds me it's just not enough. Besides managing my daughter's team, well, and I should also mention, I've arranged and been to tournaments now and visited sports complexes up and down the East Coast. Our land is better, and our sports complex is non-existent in comparison as a place where people can actually come, eat lunch, gather, meet each other, and encourage their children to grow into the kind of adults that have a balanced, healthy lifestyle. I am so proud of my kids, and they're proud of soccer too. My son insisted on bringing his medal because his team just went to a tournament, and I think they got second place or something, but they did really, really well. The point is that they're proud to be here, and we want to be more proud of our sports complex. It's letting our kids down because we can't consolidate. When my kids moved to the travel program and my family had to drive on one day, we had overlapping games, Mary L. Tracy to Fred Wolf Park. It was silly. It was just silly. So I'm here to ask the town of Orange what you plan to do to serve our children's sports complex needs. That's my question.
Okay.
Can I ask one more thing?
One more thing. I grew up in Southern California, and that is relevant because we are fearful as hell of dust storms. They carry valley fever, which is fungal spores that can kill people and animals. And there was uranium mining in the Cold War, all out, up and down. So breathing dust is dangerous. So you can imagine my panic attacks every time people drive into the parking lot and dust clouds fly over the fields and I watch children breathe it. Now I know our dust is not toxic like it is in the Southwest. It still causes me panic attacks. So I also would love to have some better parking. Thank you.
Man in back has had his hand up 2 or 3 times.
Hi, my name is Don Hawk. I live at 521 Ridge Road. Now, there was talk about the safety of the kids down at the playground and the soccer fields and the 300-plus families on a Sunday. What about the safety of my 6-year-old daughter who can't play in her yard because all the families driving down to Fred Wolf Park treat Hollow Road as an I-95 on-ramp? The speeding is ridiculous. You guys are so concerned about adding more land, adding more fields. What about the residents that live in that neighborhood? There's no concern with how fast you're getting there, as long as you get your kids there on time. I'm all for children having open space, athletics. I support it. But I'm afraid to let my daughter play in her own yard because of the cars just flying down that road. Something's got to be done about this. Tom, I've spoken to you many times about this issue. Speed humps were put in, and I see maybe 10% of the cars slow down for them. The rest accelerate as soon as I go over it to the next one and accelerate again into the driveway to Fred Wolf, which is barely wide enough for one car, let alone somebody going in and coming out at the same time. So before we even think about expanding, we should think about the safety of all Orange residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Nope, you're it. Yep.
My name is Larissa
I'll
Persano,
pick you up.
637 South Greenbrier Drive. My son just started playing soccer. My family, my husband, his parents, his grandparents were born and raised in Orange. I'm not. I'm from West Haven. That being said, I have a niece who is 15 and is quite the competitive soccer player, and she's been at Fred Wolf Park probably for the last 9 years. And it is a field, and it's a park that I see that has actually not improved in 9 years in any way. Whether it's driving down that residential road, one way in, one way out, it's not safe. In addition, the MLT fields are worse now than were just in May when we started, significantly worse. And it's quite embarrassing, I would say, that anybody coming in thinks Orange has this reputation and this just view that is such a great, beautiful community, and when you see fields like this, and not just fields, but other things, it's not. The other thing is the safety issue, and I have to agree, driving really fast on the roads, it's not safe for the kids, it's not safe for the residents. An additional field will also give us an opportunity to have an additional entrance and an exit. And it would come from, because I drove the fields, I drove Wolf Park, I saw where it was located, and on the corner of Peck Lane and Hemlock is where the entrance to that field is. If you come in from Meeting House Lane, or Meeting House Road, and you get onto Peck, there's nothing there but a field and maybe a house or two on the right, and there's an entrance. And that will alleviate a lot of that congestion that you would get or that traffic. And that's just my personal opinion, if it's doable and if it can make happen. And I've walked the fields, and it is very difficult, again, when you have an elderly parent or someone who is handicapped, to park at the end of Fred Wolf, to walk to a field, all the way at the other end. It's horrible, because we've been there, we've done that. So I would like to see the improvements made. I would like to see the effort put in for our residents and for our children to have an athletic field where you're not transporting your children from MLT to Fred Wolf or to some other field. It gets very stressful, and I've seen that. So I'm just asking is to expand these fields. Let's improve the fields. Let's improve the safety. I know it's going to take a lot of investigative work to do that, but it needs to be done. This is at a time where the community is growing much more rapidly than we're anticipating, and it is turning over. There's a lot newer families that have moved into Orange that are not from Orange, that are very opinionated, but there are also the families that bring money to the town, and they have the kids, and they bring the sports into the town. And those are the people that we have to consider. So thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Peter Higgins, 303 Drummond Road, to the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Orange. Over the course of the past few months, it's been made clear that there are significant discrepancies between the town and its resident taxpayers regarding Fred Wolf Park due to the lack of communication from the administration to said taxpayers. In reviewing what I could, it seems apparent that the town was not transparent in activities in the supposed enhancement of the fields and proposed playground. It seems that the town did not coordinate with Amity Lacrosse or Amity Orange Soccer Association. Why? There have been numerous questions surrounding the layout and placement of the playground. There have been numerous questions regarding the nature of the field layout and the lack of expert opinion to properly conduct an operation. Why? There are questions surrounding the lease of the property of Fred Wolf Park grounds for a laughable sum. Why? How does the town benefit from this lease? Has a safety expert reviewed the plans or locations, potential unintended consequences of the plan? Why not? The town of Orange prides itself on speaking up when they feel that there is a need for full transparency, and especially when the safety of its residents and children are at risk. Just recently, resident taxpayers vehemently requested more transparency from our education officials. Communication was delivered in an attempt to explain the rationale for the decisions on the school budget. In that same vein, we are asking for a similar forum to understand why these decisions have not been made in a thoughtful and intentional manner. While town meetings do offer an opportunity to speak out, I believe the magnitude of this issue requires the board and Mr. Ziola to answer in earnest the questions being asked. The safety of our children and residents and the children of other towns who utilize Fred Wolf Park fields are paramount to shoddy planning and execution. Do more with less is an admirable aspiration unless corners are cut, safety is compromised, and requests for information are dismissed. The opportunity to answer all the questions from the public, clear up this matter, and move forward with a strategic plan to enhance Fred Wolf Park can be done. Doing more with less, more transparency, more thoughtful communication, less risk to children, less confusion, will ultimately lead to less skepticism. Thank you.
You're right in line. I'll take the man to the right. You, yeah, first. Yeah.
Jeff Smith, 393 Grassy Hill Road. Similar thing that everyone's saying, just more of a comment. I was watching the Parks and Rec meeting from last month where they wanted to put this down, and a lot of things they were saying were, can't afford this, can't afford to put bathrooms at Fred Wolf Park, which I understand. The concessions were brought up and such. But you can't have on one side saying that we don't have the money for that, and then we're leasing 14 and a half acres or whatever it is of land for $375. If we want to be a town that has the resources to compete with other towns athletically, we need to find ways to bring people in. You, as a park and rec, you can't charge more than $100 or $200 for a person to come to go play at MLT. I'm from Cheshire originally. We started the soccer club there with nothing. It's now a very competitive program. It took time, but it was effort. Cheshire's a bigger town, I get that. But parents will pay more if the resources are there, they'll pay more for their program if they're seeing it. So you can charge more that way. If the parks are bigger, you'll get more people. You'll pull people in. We don't have to rely on Amity for everything. So it's just a comment. I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you for your time.
Good. There you go. Yep.
Hello, Andy George, 602 East Slope Drive. And I just wanted to say that I'm a volunteer coach with the Orange Soccer Association. And I've been 3 times now coaching my daughter's team at Fred Wolf Park. Every time I almost get into an accident with another car. The driveway to get in and out is just dangerous. So I definitely think other people have said things more eloquently than me, but something has to be done because it's just not a safe situation for for families, for children in general. Thank you.
Others? Just Tom.
Tom Paisano, 523 Fairway Road, familiar face here. The issue that we're talking about tonight is really simple. We don't need to go backwards or forwards. It's corn or kids. What is important in this town. Obviously, we planted corn at Fred Wolf Park for 22 years. That was the original intent when it was purchased. We couldn't come in that way because crops are in the field. Hollow Road was a temporary road for 4 fields. There was only 3 fields at the time, and I built another one. It's a temporary road. That's why it's what it is. It was a driveway. So yes, all that needs to be improved. Going to what is I call Phase 6. Jimmy Zioli says it disappeared. The land didn't disappear. There is land, and we're going to call it Phase 6. It's on the record. We paid a ton of money to design it. Anyway, that land would alleviate a lot of traffic. We'd have parking behind the lacrosse fields. That would be the first thing we would do, behind the soccer fields and behind the lacrosse fields. Therefore, people would have the traffic. We cannot use the field that was built at Fred Wolf Park that is designed incorrectly and impossible to use. That is a problem. There's nothing we can do. It's been used today I just took a picture for you people. 10 dogs out there, everybody having a ball. That's what it should be used for. Unfortunately, we need to do what everybody's talking about. We need to discuss this. Perhaps a committee that works just on Fred Wolf Park, and not just a playground committee assigned by the Selectmen, but a committee that would look after this. If not, maybe we want a farm there. I had several suggestions of a community farm rather than one farmer planting corn I never got a corn cob. 22 years, no one offered me a cob. So what are we doing? Obviously, the kids now need this. We have a need. You want us out of Mariel. I've been told that directly from our first selectman. Okay, I got it. So this is a good place to go. We can enter, or you're going to be told that we can't enter. You're going to be told a bunch of stuff in a minute because we don't get answers till we sit down. But we can enter it. It is good land. It is qualified as Phase 6 of Fred Wolf Park. The land still exists. It's 16 acres. As a matter of fact, some of the old documents, they wanted hay bales because there's some erosion. I'm not sure that's being done.
Is there anyone else on this topic or any other? Public participation, I'll turn it over to my selectmen, but public participation is when you get to come up and express your thoughts on any topic, but it's you expressing your thoughts on a topic, but it's not an agenda item. That's why Tom said we don't get answers till we sit down. It's public participation where you can question, you can ask, and there may be answers if they're answerable, or there may not be. But that's how it works that way. You witnessed it already with the lady who has some concern on a topic, but it's an agenda item, so she will come up and speak when that item comes up on the agenda, just so everybody understands that. I'll turn it over to my selectmen. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments that they wish to express? If not, Mitchell.
Jim, yeah. We've listened and we thank Tom for coming repeatedly and the other parents that came out tonight. Appreciate everyone who came out to speak on this issue. I'm wondering whether it's time to take another look at the whole overall view of Fred Wolf Park. We had a 75,000, if I remember correctly, study that we had to basically scrap because, as you know, and everyone here knows,
Didn't work.
the main portion of that was bringing access in from Peck Lane, the other side of Peck Lane where Pine Tree is.
Right.
And that was a immovable object because of the wetlands that are there, and that's just off the table. But there's been a lot of talk tonight and elsewhere we've heard about coming in Peck Lane Hemlock, off a Meeting House. You've already found some access to Oakview. I'm wondering if it's really time for us to take another study, whether it's an outside firm or even just a committee that can take a look at the overall Fred Wolf Park, come up with a plan. Tom, with all due respect, Phase 6 is part of a plan that we never really got past Phase 1. The land is still there, and that's a good thing. But the thing is, we've got a plan that doesn't work anymore, and things have changed since that plan was put in over a decade ago, I think. So
Probably.
I'm thinking it's time to look at it again in a holistic way, not one piece at a time, because the parents that have come out tonight want more fields at Fred Wolf Park. I think we all want more fields at Fred Wolf Park. The question is, we bring more fields in, the people won't be going from Mary Tracy to Fred Wolf back and forth, but those that are only going to Mary Tracy will all be coming to Fred Wolf. So we'll be putting more traffic on, more stress on that area. And therefore, we're going to have more concerns about safety and access. And so if there's a way to do that, and then along with at the same time, there's obviously a big dispute between the fields that this board approved to clear and irrigate that aren't being used for soccer for various reasons and are being used as a dog park. We didn't have a dog park. Maybe we should. But, I think just looking at the whole thing, it's time for us to just look at the whole thing again and not just look at it piecemeal and try to put either hire another outside consultant or try to do it internally, but with a collaborative group. That's my suggestion.
Anybody else? No? Okay.
Well, I'll just speak briefly. I do agree with Mitch in the sense that we appreciate the public comments from all the residents. To date, it's really only been Tom that's come to voice his opinions. And, our job is to listen and to see what we can do to assist the residents. As I've told Tom on numerous occasions, I too had children that participated on those fields, lacrosse, soccer. Even I was part of, Mary L. Tracy at one time playing on those fields. I'm a lifer. Yeah, our town has changed. We have a huge influx of people, who demand different things. And, our job is to try to sort of balance all those needs of all the residents. So it's not an easy thing to just say, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z today. But I do think we need to have further discussions about it. And that's my opinion, but I wanted to say thank you to all the residents who've come out and talked. It's not an easy thing to do, to get up and speak in front of people, and also sort of just to voice your opinion. So thank you for doing that, and that's where I'm at.
No? I'm good. Okay, Ralph, good? All right, well, there's a few things that do need to be addressed just because they're egregiously wrong. The first one I'll start with is Mrs. Higgins' comment about Mr. Besputa at Park and Rec. Mr. Besputa does not farm the land that Mr. Pisano is discussing.
I know. I said land nearby.
And he does farm land nearby, but it is not owned by the town. And so there is no reason for him to recuse himself, because the piece that Mr. Pisano is talking about is not anything that he or his family uses. And Mr. Pisano has repeatedly, after even being corrected at public meetings, continue to state that Stephen Besputa and the Besputa family use that property. It is wrong, it is misinformation, it is misleading, and it is borderline libel to me, because it has been repeated and repeated and repeated. Then he insinuates that Fieldview Farm rents the land, but the Besputa family farms that land. Not the case, not at all. So any of you who think that Mr. Besputa stepped out of line by making a motion at a Park and Rec Commission that he's probably served on for 15 or 18 years was not incorrect. He has no connection to that property whatsoever, no matter what you have been told as the man walks around down at the soccer fields on Sunday catching everybody's ear. It's misinformation and wrong. I also do not farm any town property, and I do not have any connection to that property or any other fields in that area or elsewhere. None. So if you think that's funny, that's good, but you mentioned my name, so unfortunately.
So you're going to be specifically supporting
No, not
in the town. That's what I was getting at.
absolutely not.
As a matter of law, there is no ethical issue here. If you
So
may have an opinion, but as a matter of law, there's no ethical issue here.
And so then you discuss the parking. Parking will be improved. We spent $20,000 reducing the amount of wood chip berm down there, which was required from a lawsuit back many years ago by a neighbor who didn't want to be bothered on Sundays by the children laughing and playing soccer. Mitch was first selectman when that lawsuit was handled, so we did some things that were different, and we reduced that berm to allow more parking over there. The only thing that's been done down there until we built the lacrosse and built them their own parking in back was soccer. That was the first thing that was done there. And the parking and all was put in, but soccer for 22 years has been there and hasn't bought so much as a truckload of gravel to top dress that parking lot. So it's a two-way street as far as give or take on that. And so it's unfortunate that that is the case. Soccer has $200,000 in their fund. They could buy some gravel and make some parking improvements down there, since they're the predominant user of that area where the soccer fields are. And I don't think any of you can disagree with that. I mean, it is what it, no, it can't.
Stop.
No,
Stop.
No,
You said enough.
no, I think not, Tom.
Let's get
And
out
so,
of here.
and so,
We'll settle
no,
this
I
in the
think,
ballot box.
I think they need to hear. See ya. And so, many of you, if you've been to Wolf Park recently, you'll see that some trees were removed by the entrance, by that curbing you spoke to. The driveway off of Hollow Road is being redone as we speak. That's why those 3 large trees were removed on the right-hand side, right by that curbing. And that driveway is going to be widened on the right side, and it's going to be pushed out and take a turn in further out alongside that curbing that you referred to there. So it will be widened for that. Unfortunately, we hit a kind of an interesting snafu in using the state money that we've been using for that. We did the curbing that's down there now that boxes the playground area. And the state on their reimbursement form this time put a new box that said, is this on your capital plan? Well, we hadn't put that on the capital plan because it's not taxpayer dollars, it's state money. So now tonight we're approving a new capital plan so that when we submit for the reimbursements as we go forward, we can check the box that says yes, because it's a new thing that the state did. So now we have to backtrack in order to make it all legit to get reimbursements as the improvements go along. The playground, where that curbing is that runs up along that side and then towards that new driveway out to Oakview Road, there's going to be a timber rail fence inside that curbing first. like we just completed up at the top of the parking area for the soccer fields. Not the chain link part, the timber wood beam fence. And then inside that, when the playground is ready, then there'll be some trees planted. And then when the playground, if it ever comes, was supposed to be here in July,
What is the delay with that, though?
manufacturing.
We have a playground that just was built at Turkey Hill.
That's a whole different thing. You can't use those during school hours. This one
That's
here,
what the issue is. We can't use a playground in school hours.
That-
There's no playground to go to.
well, that's why this one is. That one was built for that purpose, and then after Sandy Hook and all, they locked that and raised the fence out here. They used to be able to use this playground that's out in back of this parking lot. And so, once it gets manufactured, there will be then chain link fence inside that, beyond that timber rail fence. The parking for that playground is down that new driveway, will then be a right turn into a parking area, and you will enter that playground from on that far side, away from the soccer field parking lot. That's
so if
how,
my son's playing soccer and wants to go to the playground, I have to get in my car and drive to a different parking lot for him to be able to play in the parking?
or you could walk there. Yeah, if you're parked in this spot,
And cross a busy parking lot.
it's not that busy,
Jim, how would you have a clue how busy Fred will park?
because we've been monitoring it, Peggy,
By Steve Vesputa?
by several people.
Jim.
Please.
I
So
go
anyhow,
there.
Peggy,
I've
Peggy,
yet to see you there. I've yet to see you there.
that's great. Well, that's good, but I'm there.
Really?
Yeah.
Give us a schedule, so we.
I don't have to give you
I also
anything.
would like to mention that I've seen
I think
Steve
that you're-
Vesputa,
I think
and
that
I've
it's wonderful.
seen
That's great.
People that work there on that
So-
field, so I don't
Good.
know what they're hanging around for because
I
they're
couldn't tell you.
farming on the 15 acres. I've seen them.
Good.
That's Steve Vesputa. And that's what she was talking about.
You're on the
about
wrong piece of land. You don't know which
I
piece
know
of land.
exactly what I'm talking
No,
about.
I'm afraid you don't, because he doesn't go on that piece of property. He farms the land in front of it that's owned by the Russells.
I've seen him on that property, and
Okay.
I've seen his men.
You've seen
Yeah,
his men.
His men helping working on the field.
Really? What
Yes.
kind, what color truck do they have?
Could we get back to, the discussion why all these.
Well, you
people are
two
here?
started it.
No, we didn't.
So anyhow, so then we did put in the berms on Hollow Road because of the neighbors complaining about the speed. And you heard from Mr. Hawk down and back over there about the speed, even with the berms, is still not paid attention to, unfortunately. I mean, he lives there, so he's seeing it probably more than any of us. So, I mean, we did that trying to help those neighbors there. As far as MLT's field's in poor shape, I have no idea. I know the town spent, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000 when they got damaged after one of the elections. 2 cycles, they resodded it and all. So that's, that is, again, another Park and Rec issue. And I would recommend you go to Park and Rec and ask that. Let's see. The field that is across from the current soccer fields, actually, there was enough land made that you could run 2 fields the opposite way of where the field is now. The one that runs alongside the driveway back to La Crosse, a big portion of that didn't exist. There was a stone wall there and a lot of brush and debris. You could turn that field and you could have 2 more fields for toddlers right there, whether 75 by 100 or 50 by 100 fields, depending on which age group it is. There's 2 would fit right there. As far as not being transparent, this board has discussed each and every part of the process as it's going along. Where the playground is going on that plan that has been referred to was proposed for tennis courts originally, so there was going to be other development in that area, but they had planned for tennis courts, if you look at that plan, not a playground. We looked at High Plains, we looked at a couple other spots to put the playground in other locations. Do you want a playground under the power lines? You know, the septic system for High Plains is right behind the pool, so we couldn't put it there because you couldn't dig all the post holes and all that were gonna be needed for that. So that's why the playground ended up where it did. That's how it's boxed off the way it will be for the safety of the children. We heard the people's complaints. The playground committee held public meetings on it. They had multiple meetings. That was a whole separate committee. And so that's where that's going. When it comes, it comes. The roadway that goes out to Oak View, we cleared that when we cleared the other piece of land there so that we would have that, because the driveway that was proposed from kind of in the back by the lacrosse parking lot, it would have come out, and it would have gone down to Pine Tree Drive at the intersection of Peck Lane by Peck Place School. The Army Corps of Engineers got involved because there was over 5,000 square feet of disturbed wetlands potentially, and so they came and they wanted 3 bridges over the wetland areas, which was cost prohibitive, and that's why that roadway in itself failed. Besides the fact that there was a flooding problem, and we would have also had to develop a large detention pond off behind the back corner, I'll call it, of the lacrosse area. So that was all discussed both by this board and by Park and Recreation over time. If you follow the meetings, please be involved. You're saying that I'm not transparent. All you have to do is either click on channel 79 or follow the meetings, come to a meeting, ask to be on a commission if there's an opening. How many of you have ever asked, volunteered to be on, one of those commissions? I know you volunteer to help your children. I understand that, and that's what it's all about. But there's also a whole bunch of boards and commissions that the town needs volunteers on, whether it be the library or the inland wetlands, public health. There's lots of commissions that need volunteers. So please keep that in mind.
Do you keep a list of that on the website of what's open?
Those are not on the website because it's a big notebook full. But if you have a specific interest or something, don't come for the next 10 days because my secretary is unavailable, but they can tell you any that are available. I'd be glad to get them to you, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you.
Let's see. Park and Rec. As far as what is charged for the soccer, I have no idea. Mr. Smith brought that up. I have no idea. I have nothing to do with that. At Park and Rec, I don't believe, has anything to do with that. That's strictly Orange Soccer Association handles that all on their own. That's not Park and Rec.
That was more so saying that you could charge more to build the facilities that the Park and Rec said we cannot build in the town. You charge more for the fees. Orange Soccer could use that money to build it themselves.
Possibly. And then the last thing is, I think, Mr. George, about the driveway. Now that we will straighten out the reason so that we can then access state money again, I hope to have that driveway done, if it's not too late, out to Oak View. There's quite a bit of work that still needs to be done with it. It will be paved from Oak View Road in, I think it's about 120 feet. There's a stone wall there. That part will be paved. The rest of it will then be graded, and it will be done with ground millings of 1/2 inch minus and oiled and stoned over that. And that will lead from Oak View all the way in to the intersection, whether you go into the soccer parking lot or take the right into the lacrosse direction, or if just before that would be a left into the playground area. So that will be a second access that then helps alleviate that traffic situation. And the driveway going in off of Hollow Road is being widened and improved. It just took a little bit of a holdup. We're hoping to get both paved at the same time when we hire somebody to do that work. The town won't do that. We use Tilcon for our general paving around town currently, so we'll see. Yes, Judy?
Thank you, sir. Just a question, both of those driveways will be both ways?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I thought at one point we talked about one way.
No, that
Okay.
way, otherwise, they studied that safety guy, and you would be funneling all the traffic down one road and all the traffic out the other. So by splitting it, you're spreading it out. You have to come back up here, though.
Just a question.
Yep.
So my question, two parts, is how do we go about starting a committee for Fred Wolf Park, and who do we talk to?
I'll consider it, that's all.
You'll
So-
consider it just
One-man band?
No.
or the
See,
selectmen?
there's
When
the
can I-
part that works
Excuse me,
against
excuse
it.
me, I was asking a question.
Well,
When can I, the other part is, when can I or parents or somebody come to you and say, hey, have you thought about it? How long does it take to consider it?
Thank you. And you heard the selectmen here tonight speak. We also heard you. Instead of making a snarky comment, I need to consider it to put the committee together. That's how it works. If that doesn't make you happy, I'm sorry, but that's the way it works.
I just want to,
'Cause
just want to know,
it has to be
how can
appointed.
we, if you're looking for volunteers,
Well, we're
to
not
help the
yet,
town of,
but-
no, but just not in this, but if you're looking for volunteers
Mm-hmm.
to help with these commissions and other committees in the town of Orange, we'd like to have you consider it, but we'd also like to know about approximate, when could we expect to actually approach someone to discuss it further? Like a month, 2 months,
I-
a week,
wait a
2
minute.
weeks? Like you're going to
The other
consider it?
committees or this
No,
committee?
this
To
committee.
create a new committee?
Yeah, like how
Well,
long
the
does it
select,
normally?
the selectmen will talk about it.
Okay.
And then, we get suggestions from this
Okay.
group.
All right.
And then we go from there.
I'm not expecting an answer tonight. I just want to kind
No,
of,
I would say probably 60 days.
when can I start asking more questions is
Well,
what I'm,
there would be a committee
right,
that would then hold a meeting,
right.
meetings, and then you might end up on the committee, or you might end up going to the meetings, one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same as what happened with the playground group. A group was appointed of 5, I think.
You could send
But-
an email to Ann, Jim's secretary.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Is that on the public
A Denny-
website and everything?
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
adenny@orangect.gov.
yeah. And then,
Right.
a committee is appointed, like the most recent one was the playground committee. It was 5 people that were chosen that expressed interest from different areas. And,
Okay.
that committee
Those
did
were
all the
my only
legwork and all on that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it would
Okay.
be.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Good.
May I?
sure, why not?
Thank you. Hi, Peggy Pisano, 523 Fairway Road, Orange. Thank you, Mr. Zeoli. Thank you, Board of Selectmen. I just wondered if we could get back to the issue of the lease. Does Orange really benefit from $375 lease when that area could be better served for the children of the town of Orange? I'd like everyone's opinion, please.
Well, we don't answer that. We don't have to answer. You're asking something that will be considered as part of the overall discussion.
So the fact that we've done this for decades now, and it's been currently re-signed, right, that land is leased, or it currently is leased
Right,
through, when is it leased until?
22?
December
22.
Till the end of this year?
It probably was, but they automatically get to renew it. We can't do anything for 180 days, so unless I'm wrong, I'm not a lawyer.
So is it
That
an
means
automatic
that
renew?
they can agree to
I
it
can't
right
tell you,
now
Peggy.
for
I don't
2
have it in
years.
front of me, so I'm not going to speak to it.
But it will be considered by the Board of Selectmen.
I would guess so.
Well, Board of Selectmen, could you agree that this will be discussed, whether we continue with a $375 lease when that area could be better served by the children of the town of Orange? I mean, how is there a comparison?
We'll, when it comes up, we'll consider it.
Okay.
That doesn't come up.
But it automatically renews.
It's not automatically renewed. They are able to.
It does
the
come before
leasing
this
is
board.
able to renew the lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes before this board every year.
years.
But
Maybe 2 years.
I would think that by December 31st, in reality, that even if they renew the lease for another year, there's nothing we can do in the next 2 months, 3, 4, 5 months to get Fredwell Park where we want it to be, which is why I'm asking to consider a committee to start over and look at it and say, okay, it's 2022, not 2020. There are so many differences now and requirements to establish such an athletic center that we're looking for. So honestly, even if they renew the lease for next year, there's nothing we can do with it until we have all the requirements, approvals. Is it for 1, 2, or 3 years?
I think they're 2.
The last one was 2 years. If I can answer Peggy and Mrs. Persano at the same time, I think it comes back to what I was suggesting in the beginning was, and I think, Jim, it sounds like you may be actually agreeing, that we can put together some sort of committee to look at this overall, holistically. No matter what happens with a lease on December 31st, we're not going to be paving over the cornfield on January 1st. It's just not going to happen that fast in reality. But if we don't have a plan, and that's the problem, I don't think we really have a plan. And then, Jim, you mentioned in your discussions, and I appreciate the history you gave through here, you mentioned about how, they're going to put fields here or fields there, and then there was talk of tennis courts, which now I think are going to become pickleball courts. Things have changed.
Well,
Things
that
have
hasn't happened yet because of the damn playground.
I realize that, but I mean,
Called
things have changed from the master plan that I just have in front of me now. It's October 2013, so it's been 9 years. But I still think that if we put something together with or without a consultant to try and look at what is, there at Fred Wolf, what can be done realistically, what satisfies the most people, I think we can make some.
That would be the committee.
I think we should do that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, one question which I don't think anyone understands the answer to, so I'm looking to you to answer it. So we've put out some land. We've cleared some land.
Mm-hmm.
And you have stated over again to Tom, who's been here regularly, you can use that for fields. And then I watched the Park and Recreation Committee meeting on OGAT, and they basically said, we don't need any more fields at Fred Wolf Park. And so my question is, who decides? Is it you? Is it us? Is it the Park and Recreation Commission? Or is it the Soccer Association as to where a field goes? I mean, if the Soccer Association said, we want to take that area that's now been cleared and irrigated, despite the fact that it's not level, and we want to make it a field, are they allowed to do that tomorrow? Does the Soccer Association go in and do it? Or does it need Park and Rec Commission approval to say this is field number 5 and this is field number 6? And
I would say that since it's cleared and available, Park and Rec would act on that. I would have no trouble with it. It's there. That piece of land is about, just so you all know, it's about 280 feet deep, and it's about 350 feet wide, running, when I say wide, that's the east to west, running towards the lacrosse field is the 350 side. It is sloped, and it's sloped on purpose from the east side to the driveway on the west side. But your fields, if you were to use that for little player fields, would not be running east to west. Your fields would be running north to south. So this argument about saying it's not level is not really, it's not as bad as being portrayed at all, because your slope runs this way, you're playing fields this way. If you go and look at it, if you're running opposite, perpendicular to the slope, the fields are laid out, they're 50 or 75 feet wide. That's 350 feet. So if you absorb the slope on that field over fields that are 50 or 75 feet wide, the slope that you're thinking is so great is truly de minimis, because you're stepping up it as you go. The slope in the cornfield that they've all referred to and you've referred to, the slope in that field is greater than the slope in that grass lot that's there. You may not think so. Go stand in the middle of it and look to the east and look to the west. That field is crowned in the middle. So even that would require extensive grading. Yes, sir. You have to come up here, though.
I just want to say I support Selectman Goldblatt's suggestion for a committee. I think that's a great idea.
It was Mrs. Persano's suggestion. Good evening.
Good afternoon. Joe Nichols, 358 Hitchin Post Drive. I am new to the town, but I'm not new to Orange Soccer. I've coached here for probably about 15 years and spent quite a bit of time at Fred Wolf. It just seemed to me there's a lot of back and forth about what to do at Fred Wolf, and I'm not sure this gentleman here is probably the only interesting I've heard all night as to what we could do at Fred Wolf. From my time there, it just seems that it's a piecemeal deal as to what you should do at Fred Wolf. And again, I'm not talking about soccer here. Not only am I a soccer coach, I'm a consultant engineer. So some of the stuff you mentioned brought me up here as to why are we even talking about this from this approach? Why are we putting a playground boxed in by traffic at Fred Wolf Park? Okay? Why have we hired a consultant firm to look at the overall layout at Fred Wolf and what we could do and what we shouldn't do? Why is a playground there when a playground, in my opinion, should be in the back where the parking lot for lacrosse is, okay, and fields, meaning, I'm sorry, the parking lot should be where the playground is in the front. People park, and then you move to where you're going to, whether you're going to play lacrosse, you're going to play soccer, you're going to the playground. I have kids, and this gentleman said down there, I've seen the speed that come through Hollow Road all the time. Why is there a curb at Fred Wolf Park right now? I think I have an idea as to why, but I'm not going to get into it because this has to do with, state money and how you get reimbursed for that kind of stuff. I know about that. So my whole concern, again, I've coached soccer at Fred Wolf for a long time. I am not concerned about soccer. I'm concerned about the safety of kids at Fred Wolf. I have kids. I'm not going to bring my kids to play at that playground where you've boxed it in from, what's that other street? Oakview. Oakview. And you're circling it with, Hollow Drive, and people are coming there fast. So again, if you have money from the state that you're trying to rush and you're trying to, secure it before it's taken away, I just feel that, like you said, a consultant firm should come in and look at the overall layout at Fred Wolf. It's just like you did in the back with the lacrosse field. Those fields were put in haste. They were not done properly. Someone came, cleared the land, and threw in those lacrosse fields, and it's terrible. You're just talking about adding on to a problem down the road instead of looking at how you really want to fix Fred Wolf Park so the entire community can enjoy it. And again, I'm not sure when you mention a lot of stuff, it seems like the buck stops with you. I'm not really sure how that really works in town, but thank you guys for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawk.
We're all concerned about the safety of the children. I am as well as you. Regardless of where the playground is being built at Fred Wolf Park, let's start with the adults just driving like there are children there. Then there's going to be less concerns about safety. There's a reason we're all going down there. It's for children. Children don't know not to run out in the street, not to run out in the parking lot. That's where we're supposed to be aware. Let's start there. Just be happy that we have open space for the children. A lot of towns don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawk. Anybody else, or we're going to move on? Okay, we're going to move on then from public participation. Thank you. All right, public participation at the table. Who has things to say? Mitchell? All right. Drink some water.
Water's the cause of it.
Darn water.
Water did it. All right. No, we'll start with the bicentennial. Huh? Yeah. So, the plaque and the bell are running behind. We're looking at probably another 4 weeks. Disappointing. Yeah. I don't understand. The bell's coming. The bell's coming from France. Yeah, we got the templates done. It's been approved. Everybody's gave me their input, which is great. It's going to be very simple, but it's not done. And I just got an email the other day saying probably another 4 weeks. So hopefully before our next meeting. Excuse me. Souvenirs continue to sell. Ann Denny has hats, flags, pins, and T-shirts for children.
Some shirts,
That's all that's left. Everything else is sold out, we're happy to say, actually. And we'll have one last shot at this at the holiday festival. We'll have the rest of the items on display and also for sale at the holiday festival, as well as the beautiful quilt that we all saw last time. We've sold raffle tickets at the country fair. Ann continues to sell raffle tickets out of the First Selectman's office. They are $2 each, 3 for $5. Buy as many as you want. And we're going to sell them once again at the holiday festival. And the drawing will be at the holiday festival at the tree lighting. Jim, you'll get to announce the winner at the tree lighting. So that's the plan for the bicentennial. Shredding day. This past Saturday was our shredding day. We gathered 9,820 pounds, which is slightly over what we did this past April. It was very successful. The weather was beautiful. We also collected 17 mattresses. I want to thank besides the Orange Recycling Committee, the Rotary Club, once again, for sponsoring. I don't know how much money they brought in. It was well over $1,000 towards their scholarship fund. And the Lions Club picked up some money by picking up the mattresses. Orange Community Women had a great day by collecting a lot of clothing, shoes, and other games and small appliances. And then the Buy Nothing Orange group also gathered at the pavilion where people were exchanging things. People were bringing things they didn't want. People were taking things they wanted. And whatever wasn't taken at the end of the day went to the Orange Community Women. So it really worked out very well. Now, we're going to plan, the next one is planned as of today, April 22nd, which is Earth Day, coincidentally and nicely enough. So April 22nd, 2023, we'll do it again. Jim, a question for you. I meant to ask you before. I'm sorry. We'd like to do the Has Waste again in April like we did this past April. I don't think we got as many people as we first thought or feared, I guess, as far as how much it would cost. My question to you is, do we need a motion from this board, or are we just okay to continue the Has Waste another?
That actually runs through the RWA.
Yeah, and Lori Vitigliano said that date is it's available.
No, if they can do it, you can include it as part of that event.
All right, so we'll include the Has Waste as well. Probably
that
the same way we
kind
did.
of well.
It did. We did it in the back by the lower pavilion, the Rotary Pavilion, and that worked out well. So that's set up for April. Next, Election Day. Everyone votes at High Plains Community Center, but a lot of people's districts have changed. The good news is, the bad news is your district may have changed, but hopefully you know that from the literature you're getting or the signs in front of your house. The good news is the fact when you get there, if you're in the wrong district, you only have to walk down the hall. It's either going to be in the cafeteria, it'll be in the gym, or it'll be in the new wing. So, but everyone should, if they're not aware of which district they're in, they should be aware, hopefully by Election Day, to take care of that.
Mailers did go out when the district changed, but not everybody.
But you ask somebody if you're in District 1, 2, or 3, or you're in the 117th, 114th, or 119th. Those of us who do this all the time know, but a lot of people don't, and so it just... The tax bill, that's right, John, thank you. The tax bill did say that as well.
Yep.
So there's been a lot of effort out there to make people aware. So just be aware that you may not vote in the exact same room you voted in before because your district may have changed with the 10-year redistricting that takes place across the state. And then finally, congratulations to the Democratic and Republican parties for holding a kickball game. I especially want to thank Dominic Lombardi from the Republicans and Polly Demersion from the Democrats for really putting this all together. There was a lot of fun. There were some pulled hamstrings. There was a banged up knee. and a lot of bruised egos. And that was just on the Democratic side. So, but the real good news is we raised about $2,500 for the Orange Fuel Bank, and everyone who's involved should be congratulated, and we're all still walking, one way or the other. We won't talk about the results, though.
I heard you took credit there.
But I can say that as the losing pitcher, my ERA is 16.0.
You could only hope. Okay. Is there anybody else with things to?
For fun.
It was all for fun.
When's the rematch?
Hopefully
Next year.
Next year.
Next year. Is there anybody else? No, I have a few things here. Two of our former town employees we lost since we last met. Marion Chatterton, who worked for us for many, many years down in community service and was a fixture down there, great lady, passed away. And Leave Holland, who was in the library for us for many years. So our thoughts are with those families and several other unfortunate losses here in town in the last few weeks, days. Very sad. Let's see, Mitch, you made my life a lot easier here. You got a lot. The kickball, Mitch already raised. They raised $2,457.50. Funtober at the fairgrounds is Saturday, October 22nd, with a rain date of Sunday, October 23rd, from 1 to 3. I believe that's put on by Community Services, Park and Rec, and I think a couple others of our social organizations here in town. Workday at the Weppawag Conservation Area, which is down on Mapledale Road, is this one. It was rescheduled due to weather. So it's Saturday, October 22nd, from 9 a.m. to noon. The Conservation Commission is hosting a trail cleanup day at the Weppawag Conservation Area on Mapledale. Please consider helping. Wear long pants, work gloves, and waterproof footwear, and bring a rake or pruners if you have them. So that's the Conservation Commission at the Weppawag area on Mapledale on the 22nd. The next one is the Tour de Faith. Congregations of Orange Collaborative invites you to tour 2 of the houses of worship in Orange. On Sunday, October 29th, you can tour Congregation or Shalom, 203-799-2341. And then you can also tour St. Barbara's Greek Orthodox Church, 203-795-1347. Please contact either of those houses of worship to register for the tours. According to this, the Or Shalom tours are from noon to 1 on the 29th, and the tours of St. Barbara's Church are from 1:15 to 2:15 on the 29th. Daylight savings ends November 6th. So remember, it's spring ahead, fall back. So we're in the fall, so fall back. Before you go to bed on Saturday night. Eventually that's going to stop. Is that in 23 that's going to stop? They took action on it, but I think it's in 23 that's going to finally stop going back and forth. As Mitch already announced, Tuesday, November 8th is Election Day. That's an all-day event from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. All voting is at High Plains Community Center, and there are absentee ballots available by contacting the town clerk's office at 203-891-4729 or 4730 for absentee ballots. But that's for the state and national federal elections on November 8th. And the last thing is the bicentennial quilt raffle. It's a beautiful quilt that Sue Yamaguchi, who's a member at the Orange Congregational Church, made. And they are selling the tickets, as Mitch stated, for $2 or 3 for $5. And all proceeds of that are benefiting Orange Community Services. And the winning ticket will be drawn at the Holiday Festival on Sunday, December 4th. I presume it will be announced when we do the announcing on the green is what I presume for that. Okay. Done and done. All right, minutes. To consider and act upon the minutes of the September 7th, 2022 meeting, Board of Selectmen. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections? If so, please state page and paragraph.
Motion approved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Okay, item number 1 under new business is to consider and act on the appointment of Amy Torello to the Amity Board of Education to fill a vacancy to November 30th, 2023 election. Amy Torello is in the room if she would like to express anything about this being appointed to this position. If not, are there any questions from the Board of Selectmen?
Do you really want to do it? If so, motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion's made by John, seconded by Mitch.
And I would also, again, I would like to say volunteering in town, thank you. Because I think we need a lot more people to step up and say, I'm willing to jump on board and do something. And so I really do appreciate you coming on. And the Amity Board's it's a big job, so thank you.
Is there anybody who wants to, yes, ma'am?
So Bonnie Palacha from 419 Orange Center Road. And I have some questions for you, Jim, and maybe the Board of Selectmen. The question is, I just don't know the process of replacing a board member with another one. So are you the one who chooses the person, or how does that work? Do people come to you?
For this particular one, or in general? In general, appointments are made by the first selectman. Sometimes the other selectmen or others make recommendations of people. For an Amity Board vacancy, it's actually, people have come, and this one, not too many. It's been vacant since June, I think. And so then we put names forward. We put one name forward, that person withdrew. And we considered others, and then it goes here, and it's actually an appointment of the board for Amity.
So you have put her
The board-
name forth, and now
right.
the board
The
will
board votes.
consider and then vote?
Right.
And you'll do that this evening? Is that correct? Okay, so that was one of my questions. When you replace a Republican who left, do you replace that Republican with another Republican? Is that how that
The
works?
person has to be, whether Republican or Democrat, that person has to match that party affiliation or be an unaffiliate. So if they were a Republican or an unaffiliate, they could be considered. If it was a Democrat vacancy, they could be a Democrat or an unaffiliate to be considered.
Okay, so either one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so I guess I wanted to understand the process of how Amy was selected or approved.
She was, well, she hasn't been approved yet. This board does that.
Selected.
She sent in an email that she would be interested in being considered for the position. At that point, there was another person that was there were a couple other people who then, for various reasons, have made other choices. That first person chose not to go through the process, and Amy Torello then expressed interest in still being considered for the position, and so her name is put forth to the board for consideration.
Okay, so when I first got her name from you, I did a little research, and I found on her Facebook page up there saying to vote yes for the Amity budget. This caused me a little concern because the town of Orange, the residents here voted that down 3 times. And I am concerned about some of your views on the DEI, because that was part of it as well. We voted it down because of our concerns about DEI and CRT, and some of the budget as well, but some of the issues and things that were going on in the school, at Amity School Boards. The other thing, too, is we had some issues with the superintendent and the way that she was handling things. And this year, that excess will not be returned to the towns, and that's a concern as well. So,
That's to speak to that, that's by a law that has been in existence, that was put in by the legislature. Amity, through different graces, had been returning surplus unexpended funds to the town. There was a little bit of confusion in comments that were made by some people that represent the board and some that represent the town, other boards of the town, that the money was just going to the general fund. The Board of Finance never quite knew how much was going to come back, so they took kind of an, John, would it be fair to say an estimated guess? Mr. Cifarelli's in the audience, the finance director. They took an estimated guess, and they would infuse the majority of that money into the budget. Now, this year, I think that they had guessed on about $700,000 being returned from Amity that would then be considered as part of that budget. So by Amity not returning that money as they've chosen, there is a $700,000 hole in the budget. But they had built part of that refunded money each year into the budget. So there were people on the Amity side who felt that it wasn't, but it actually had. So there was a little confusion. But that law has been in existence. And there's also was a question of setting aside 1% for capital planning improvements at Amity or 2%. And so that also has been an existing law for quite a period of time, but they are done by the legislature. It's not local law.
So my concern is, and I want you to hear this clearly, in understanding how Amy stands with the DEI, the CRT, and all of the woke stuff that is going on in the Amity school systems, junior high, as well as the high school. I have a grandson who was there. They're no longer in the Amity school systems, two of my grandchildren. We took them out. It's just getting worse up there. And the latest thing is that, you know, when you're going to be voting, and I understand that one of the girls at the Amity Junior High in Bethany has identified as a feline or a furry.
Well,
And
what- don't-
well, I'm just saying, and
Yeah,
so
but
they're
stick to the
voting-
topic at hand,
Well,
please.
this is a topic. You know, how is that vote going to go? Do we know how she's going to vote when it comes to the vote?
I do not know how she's
Putting
going to
litter
vote.
boxes in the bathroom.
Well, that is not the
Well, they vote.
purview of this board. They do vote.
They will vote.
And she is
But the
a,
purview of the board here is, I want to know, and I think you should know as well, you know, how you feel about those things and how your vote is going to be on that. It certainly is my concern, and I'm not the only one.
somebody like to answer that?
Sure.
John?
I'm happy to. Well, first and foremost, I appreciate your comments. As you know, I was one of the first individuals to nominate Ms. Tarolo for the position. I think any person who is appointed to a position or elected to a position have an obligation to the residents that they serve. Okay? I think it's highly inappropriate for this board to ask a person who's coming up here to say, what is your position on a vote, when, number one, she's not even in that position yet, and number two, when they get into that position, they have to listen to the rest of the board members before they can make a comment or a concern about where they're going. I can tell you firsthand that Ms. Tarolo has children in the Amity school system. So I would imagine, based upon my knowledge of this woman, that she's going to do what's in the best interest of her children and what's in the best interest of the students that are up there. And also keep in mind what's in the best interest of the residents, so that the Amity School District can go on being one of the best rated schools in the future. Now, I don't disagree with you. There are issues at Amity. There are. Well, there's issues at every school across the country. But if Ms. Tarolo is fortunate enough to get this position, which, again, I support her because I think she'll be fair and impartial, and I think she'll do what's in the best interest of the student body and represent this town accordingly. But I believe that that's where we should be in this, as this board. I don't think it's appropriate for us to demand what she posted in Facebook 6 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or 2 days ago. She can do that. Anybody can do that. I can give my piece and say anything I want if I'm not on a board. She's going to be on a board someday, I hope. All right? And in that position, then maybe those posts will have to change. But again, she's not there yet. But I stand by her. I know the family. They're good people. And you know what? We need people like Amy Tarolo to step up, who, by the way, is also a teacher. So what a great opportunity for us to get somebody who has a background of what academics are supposed to be about, okay? And be able to not just sit back and listen and take whatever, respectfully, crap you may get, but to voice their opinion. I can tell you very candidly, Ms. Tarolo is not going to sit back and not voice her opinion. She's very intelligent and very persuasive, and I strongly support her as a nominee tonight. That's my position. Thank you.
Okay. I think, just a quick one again, with elected officials, we are the ones that you need to come to, you need to talk to. So with Amy, I'm hoping that you'll have, if she's getting on, I can't jump ahead, but if she's getting on, I hope you will have some dialogue with her. Because that's how she's going to learn what's going on, what's the feel of what other people are looking at. It's quite often people will talk here, but it doesn't go to any sources.
We appeared before the board, the Amity Board of Education, time after time after time, tired of it.
Right.
They
right.
don't listen. They don't listen.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that there would have been a replacement that who would have really listened. The Orange residents gave a mandate, very clear. They voted it down 3 times, and they would have voted it down again. The mandate was they were not pleased with what was going on with the board, the Amity Board of Education. They don't listen.
No, don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up.
Well,
If I
the
could-
grandchildren are out.
Well, let me just add something to that, if I may. John, thank you for your comments. I think they're right on, and I agree with you 100%. Amy had sent an email to all of us expressing interest in this, and I had written back to her with some of my concerns. She wrote back a very eloquent email back with answering all my concerns. I've spoken to PJ, who could not be here tonight. He also supports this nomination as well, so I want people to know that, even though he can't vote tonight. Bonnie, you mentioned a mandate. I hear you, because you and I are on different sides of that vote. I voted yes 3 times. And you know what? You're right. Orange voted no 3 times. Does that disappoint me? Yes, it does. But here's the thing. Amy's going to go to that Amity Board of Education as a member of the Amity Board. The Amity Board has a budget that was passed by the 3 towns together on the 3rd time, but it was passed. And I hope that as she sits there, she can support what goes forward with that budget that's now passed, And I'm sure she'll look very carefully, like everyone else does on the board, at the next budget that comes up and everything else that comes before her on the board, and makes an intelligent decision on what's in the best interest of the residents of Orange, but more importantly, to the Amity school system where she's being appointed. So I support her.
Right.
Yeah,
There's a motion and a second.
there is.
Hold on.
Mr. Ma- Okay.
Don't run. Hold on, please don't run.
I'm not usually a little short of oxygen.
Are you speechless?
Yeah,
Mark, stay down right now.
We'll talk at another time. Okay, motion and second is made. Is there anybody else or any other discussion? Would you like to say anything now?
No, thank you for the kind
Because
words.
remember, there's only a dozen people in the room, but there are people out there watching on camera. You're good?
I'm good. I do appreciate the kind words, and I will obviously educate myself and listen and do the best I can for what's in the best interest of the children
And watch your social media.
The only thing I've ever posted is about the vote. I've not posted about CRT or DEI or anything. I don't know. This woman doesn't know me at all. I mean, I'm all about my kids and my dogs on Facebook. You should know that.
Okay, so motion is made and seconded. We heard from Mrs. Tirolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Done. Congratulations. I think, do you know if their letter was done? Is it in your office? All right, it probably may be sitting on mine because my admin is not here, but I think it might be up on my shelf there because you'll need that. I think you get sworn in by the clerk, and then you're going to get sworn in at the Amity Board meeting also. I will check tomorrow and let you know if Ann left that in the stack of papers before she departed.
Do I need to make an appointment for that, or can I just show up?
Let me check first in the morning or tonight when I go back up there.
Okay.
And then I'll have that answer for you, and we'll let you know. Knowing Ann, it's probably sitting up there on my shelf. There's a bunch of letters that have to be, after this meeting tonight, have to be signed and go out. So I have a feeling it's there.
Okay.
All right? All right. Item 1 is done. To consider and act on the schedule of the regular Board of Selectmen meeting for 2023 and compiled that. Mitch did have a problem with March.
It's okay if we can make the March 1st. Sorry, if we can make the March 1st, I would appreciate it, but if that's possible.
I have no issues.
I have no problem with it personally.
Well, thank you. Then I'll make a motion to approve the schedule with the change of March 8th to March 1st for that meeting. If that's all right.
Any discussion? Anybody? Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Okay, you have a 5-year community plan in front of you. Mr. Cifarelli and Mr. Britton are both there. If you have any questions, Mitch, I did check that one. I asked John about it this morning with the mower thing.
Yep.
And John told me it was in the column it belonged in, not in a bonding column. So,
So this is under July 1, 2022, June 30th, 2023, and it shows lawnmowers in Park and Rec, note 4. So is that incorrect, John? Because note 4 says,
You got one, unless they gave you one after I changed that, that's note 3. But
Should be
it's
note
in the
3.
proper column when you go over.
oh, I see what you're saying.
mine says note 3. How'd you get that one?
Note 4, whatever Ann sent me.
Huh.
Mine should be the same as everybody
There's
else's.
a couple of
No?
lines, so that note got changed.
All right, that's
It's
why,
in the
'cause
right
I
column.
looked at it after we spoke yesterday, and I'm going,
I can show you my
Mine's-
papers.
here's
There's note
mine.
4. I just marked it.
So that's why I couldn't figure out where you were with that.
All right, so I have
All right.
two other questions, I guess maybe for John and for Bob, since they're both here. One is pool dehumidification. How are we going to pay for that, and why is that not in the 5-year plan?
Well, that money was in the bond,
Wasn't enough in the bond, though.
wasn't, I know, so we haven't figured that out yet.
All right, but I just feel that that should be somewhere on our 5-year plan ahead of a lot of these other things, because it was in the last bond, and
Remember, this 5-year.
It took a
plan,
major,
this,
major increase
I know it did.
from what it was estimated at, and then when it came time to
Oh, we know,
do
I'm
it, it
serving on
went-
that
it
bond
went from
committee,
a
Jim, I know, and
to $1 million.
$1 million, I know, but it's got to get done, and we have some money set aside, as you said, from the last bond.
It probably will go into the next one.
I'm hoping that it's somewhere, we don't lose sight of it, is what I'm asking.
No, we still know.
That would
Okay.
go into the bond with the capital improvements, because the library, probably HVAC, is
Yeah.
also gonna need to be done, which is also $1 million project.
Yep.
The police roof is on here.
Yeah.
That's gonna be part of that, too.
That's on there, yeah. That's on there, 22, 23, the second
Yeah.
bucket there. And the last question is, and Jim and you and I discussed this
What's
briefly as well, is the Derby Milford Glenbrook Road improvements there for the culverts or whatever has to be done. I know we don't have a dollar amount yet, but I would hope we could show it somewhere in the next 5 years that we're going to do something on it.
Oh,
That's-
no, it will. The engineers, they've done the numbers for Coachman, Old Country, and Pine Tree.
And Peck.
But we don't have a number yet to put in there for this one. That's
Okay.
why it's not in there.
All right. And this is a living document that can be, we're not, be changed.
This will change again in
Okay.
January. This is really developed from the Oakenquist Capital Committee.
It's all your fault, Ralph.
We asked,
Well done,
Threw
Ralph.
him right under.
we
job.
asked them for a 5-year plan.
Somebody's been showing up for 5 years.
They may show up for another 5 too, but they're there.
But anyhow, so that's why that last one isn't on there, because we don't have a number yet to go with from engineering. All right, so with that said, is there any other questions for this? And I did give you the reason for it, was that we hadn't included the state funding in here because it wasn't taxpayer dollars, and now they put a new box on their reimbursement form questioning, is it on there? So now it will be on there. And it's not, I didn't answer your question before, but it doesn't run out. When you were speaking, no, behind you. You said about the state money and you have to use it right away because it might run out. This money doesn't run out, it rolls. And they add to it periodically, and also it doesn't, well, it may run out someday, but right now it hasn't run out because they keep funding it. So just, I didn't explain that when you brought it up, I should have.
Remember, there was a year when they didn't fund it.
There was one year when they didn't fund it, that's true. But right now, they're still funding it, so, but I forgot to say that when you asked about it up there. Okay, with that made, is there a motion on this?
So moved.
Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. All right, number 4 is to consider and act on request to approve bid for snow plowing services. Mr. Britton is in the room. It's kind of self-explanatory. We're still in the market for a couple more trucks, according to Mr. Foyer. He was in my office this morning. I think probably when Ann comes back, we will post it again, probably on the website, with an average price for 2 more trucks, and go with that. So you have his submission, you saw, he didn't take Mr. Torello's because Mr. Torello does have some other work that might cross over on it, was how it was explained to me. So he left you out. Does that sound correct, or you have another bid that you might not be available?
And I told Donnie if he needs me, he can call me.
He could, if you're available.
If I'm available, I will show up. For the price that we put down.
Yeah.
And no minimum.
Okay. All right. So then you're probably still going to be
I'm
on
not
his...
leaving Donnie hanging. That's
No, you're still on his list, but there's something else that may
Yes.
preclude that. Okay. So with that,
Does that mean he's on this list or not on this list?
he'll, I would say he would be a backup at this point. because he doesn't know, depending on situations a little further north, if he would be available or not.
Well, I understand, but the recommendation was not to have him on the list, so if the motion was
Donnie will keep him as a spare, I'm sure, on there. He's watching at home, so he knows.
I said so moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion's made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Okay, item 5 is to consider an act on the request to approve tax refunds totaling $20,151.15, as submitted by Mr. Hurley. Any errors, omissions, or corrections with that?
I just have a, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have a question. I talked to one of the constables, and they said they're not getting any of the delinquent tax referrals to go after.
He hasn't started putting them out yet, and according to Mr. Hurley, he's only been able to get 2 of the, how many constables are there? 7? I think he's only been able to get 2 or 3 to answer in a positive that they would be willing to go out and knock on doors, is what I was told. So he hasn't started giving them yet,
Okay,
but
He's been trying.
really? Okay, all right. Well, I
But I
heard
think
that.
there's only 3 out of 7, Mitch says there are. I think that's it.
Then what should they do if they're not going to do that?
They don't do.
They like saying that they're a constable.
I got a badge.
Judy, when I was a constable decades ago, I was the only one willing to go out and do this. No, actually, there was one other person. There was 2 of us that did. The only 2 of us went out. But remember, for years, we didn't use constables.
So then could we like adjust this in the future?
It's up to the town committee, it's up to the town committees to
Okay.
put up. Yeah.
But here's the thing. If the tax collector is once again, the new tax collector is going to utilize constables again, which wasn't done for several years with the former tax collector, then it's incumbent upon both parties to run people who are willing to serve. But it didn't matter for like the last 10 years.
Interesting.
Just so all of you at home know, my phone is always on for messages, because sometimes the sound doesn't work or something. So a former constable just texted me, "I'm willing to come back." Thank you. Well, anyhow, so that's the story on that. So is there a motion made and a second on this?
So second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Okay. We have 2 committees to report. Pension Board is first with Selectman Goldblatt.
We had an extensive report at the last meeting. There's no report this meeting.
Okay. Capital Planning, Selectman Okenquist.
As of today, I haven't seen any requests come back yet, but that's not unusual.
A little early.
We're a little bit early. We'll probably have some by our November meeting. Jimmy out there.
Do you have a, I think you did you have a vacancy on that board?
Yes.
But you meet in the mornings usually, don't you?
Pardon?
When do you meet?
We're going to meet on Thursday mornings, starting in.
Yes. Yeah, so that's, we talked about committees and stuff. Capital Planning, which Mr. Okenquist is the chair of, they meet on usually like a 9 a.m. meeting to go over requests of different departments. And there is a vacancy on that commission. So just saying, if somebody's interested, email the First Selectman's office. Better email me directly at this point because Ann, again, is not here right at the moment. All our emails are available on the website. So just so you know. Okay. The last thing we have is to convene executive session. So for a personnel discussion, we will invite Finance Director Cifarelli and Fire Marshal James Vincent both into that meeting. And if Attorney Marino is still here, that's okay. No, you don't have to be.
I'm out of here.
But is there a motion to go into executive session with just a 5-minute break in case anybody wants to stretch their legs? That was a long first round, okay? We will be in executive session at like 1:15.
back on.
Okay. Good evening. We are back in from executive session. We had to discuss the forming of a new position here in town, a new part-time position. It is 9:12, and we have had our discussion. Is there any motions to be made? Selectman Goldblatt.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve a part-time, 19-hour-a-week assistant building official position at the hourly rate of $35 an hour.
Okay, motion made, second made by Selectman Carangelo. We've had our discussion in executive session, so I will ask for a vote at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? It is done. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned at 9:14. Thank you.